talk politics and current affairs, and as I always like to put it, I would say that the power is in the people, and politics is exactly what it is that we address at this time. It is the political flagship prog show on Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja. Keep in mind that we give you an audio visual radio experience that you can count on anytime, any day. And you can get across social media platforms right there, see the ambience in the studio, show us love, and help the ministry grow. When I talk about the ministry, I'm saying, hey, help us, join the family indeed, and identify yourself by taking a watch, taking a listen, on YouTube, subscribe, and of course, leave a comment right there, letting us know where it is that you are watching from, and do the same for Facebook, as we are hosting an international global, television across social media platforms, particularly Facebook and YouTube at Eagles FM Abuja, and spread the love across every other social media platform. Talking about Twitter, that is X now, TikTok, Instagram at Eagles FM Abuja. The Yuletide season is here already, and yes, they call this one the Eve, but for some, Christmas already started from December 1, and Christmas celebrations rather started from December 1 up until the end of December, if not 31st. But for others, their Christmas started at their Christmas is starting in December 24, and this is also to give it to Omoefe, who is turned a year older today. My colleague, wonderful colleague, by the way. She is a year older today, the 24th day of December 2024. She is +1. Well done to you, Omoefe, for living up to see this year, and you will see many more years, in your lifetime, right? Okay, now, others are waiting for December 25, the D-Day that is, as the Christmas celebration. But I would also want to put it out there to spread the love and don't let virus, hate, penury, anger, distastefulness, backbiting, stabbing, someone at the back and all of that. No, don't start it that way, right? So make sure it is all about giving and loving. But talking about giving and loving, I do not know if quite a number of you traveled. Well, I want to believe that some of us did, right? But then again, others have decided to stay put. If you ask them, why are you still back here? Many will very quickly tell you about the untold hardship, the hike in price of commodity, the hike in prices of food, the hike in price of the hike in transportation fare, and all of that. I mean, some would even tell you and break down what the economy is talking about in terms of inflation, in terms of the monetary policy rates and all, in terms of how tough it is for entrepreneurs, small business owners to secure a loan for their businesses. In fact, others will even tell you about the new tariff levy of, is it 50 naira now, as put together by the Central Bank of Nigeria, sending it all for every withdrawal and all of that. That's gone beyond 10,000 and all. I mean, there is a lot to talk about. Insecurity is on the sidelines right there. I mean, just recently we saw how, an 18 passenger bus, right, was hijacked, got kidnapped, if you like, right? Kidnapped, and huge ransom has been demanded to be paid right there. I mean, it's really sad. And then you keep hearing the killings here and there. Somewhere in Plateau State, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, they call it the Ganawari Riyom. I think on the Riyom local government area of Plateau State right there, where no fewer than 15 people have been killed, and others are being injured right now and receiving treatment, right? Ado-Ekiti, right? That's where the 18-bound passenger bus, was brought to a halt, and all of the passengers aboard it were indeed kidnapped. That this happened as at Sunday night, and that should have been within the boundaries of Ekiti and Ondo states, right? And from the reports that is reaching us, that bus was indeed returning from Onitsha. Well, that is leading us to the discourse this morning. Transport inflation and fuel price hike in Nigeria. Right, transport inflation and fuel price hike in Nigeria today. And our guest will be Comrade Gerald Okachi. He's a human rights activist, a public affairs commentator, and social analyst. But the truth is, this topic of transport inflation and fuel price hike in Nigeria is very critical. It has become a compendium of critical issues, the likes of which we are trying to handle in the country, at this time. And it affects the livelihood of many Nigerians. I mean, millions of Nigerians are being affected, at every point in time. The recent increase in fuel, prices, as well as the minimal decreases that we are seeing now, has also led to a surge in transport inflation. I mean, it's making it quite difficult for people to afford transportation. What we are going to be delving into will provide an analysis of, the current situation, including the causes and effect of transport inflation and fuel price hike, and we'll try to see how we can make recommendations for addressing the issue. Remember, I said we don't criticize on here, we critique. And by critiquing, it means as you're talking about where we are falling short, you're also giving, your 2 cents as to how we can make it better, right? Giving solutions or preferring solutions right there. Now, to understand the current situation, it is very essential to provide a detailed background of the issue. Nigeria has been experiencing a surge in transport inflation, and this has been exacerbated by the removal of fuel subsidies, which the president is saying, I am unapologetic of it. The president says, I don't know what you think, but that would have been one of the best decisions that I ever made as I got into this administration right there, right? So the fuel subsidy removal was also implemented by the president, you already know. It was implemented in May of 2023, and with the aim of stabilizing public finances and promoting economic growth. And however, though, the removal of fuel subsidies has also led to a significant increase in petrol and diesel prices, and this has led to a ripple effect on the entire, economy. And it makes me want to ask a question: what would be the underlying factors that have contributed to the high transport inflation rate in Nigeria, and how can these, factors be addressed? I mean, some have come out to saying that the causes of transport inflation in Nigeria are complex and multifaceted. I mean, some have said that the removal of subsidies has led to a significant increase in petrol and diesel prices. Some have, blamed it on the depreciation of the naira, having led to the increased cost of important fuel and other transportation-related goods. In fact, a few others have also said that the increase in global fuel prices has contributed to the surge in transport inflation. I mean, the effects of transport inflation are far-reaching and have significant consequences for the livelihoods of Nigerians. Some of the key effects would include the surge in transport inflation having led to an increase in the cost of living. It has made it quite difficult for people to afford basic necessities. The high transport costs have also reduced economic growth as businesses and individuals are being forced to spend more on transportation. I mean, the high transport cost have also led to social unrest as people become frustrated with the increase in cost of living, right? So we will look into this, trying to understand the current situation of transport inflation and fuel price hike in Nigeria. It is very essential to provide, some detailed background on the issue. So if you look at it, you would discover that transport inflation rate has been on the rise, especially since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu took office in May 2023. I mean, the rate stood at 23.87%. 29.87% in May of 2023, and it has since increased to 30.54% in November of 2024. Now, this is marking a significant rise of 6.67 percentage points, or 27.94% in 18 months. Now, the fuel price has also increased by about 505.71% since May of 2023, from 175 naira to 1,060 naira in October of 2024. Although now, based on some understanding, it is now 935 naira. And the NLC is saying that no, that is not even good enough, that it should still come down, because this was not the reality that we saw when we began to talk about the minimum wage. But that's a talk for another day, as some family members have saying that the NLC indeed is not representative of the people anymore, because they have lost their teething. But now, coming back to the conversation, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, has reduced the ex-depot price of petrol to 899 naira to a litre, and the federal government is announcing a 50% slash in interstate transport fares for the Yuletide season. Although one of the family members had said, I think Bright's now saying, it doesn't just stop at announcing all of these, but it is the implementation that matters, as Bright is, alluding that, look, we are not seeing that in reality. What is the point of announcing when there's no follow-up to the reality, as prices for transportation and all of that is still on the high? But then, let's, typically look at this. It goes back to the place of distrust and mistrust between the led and the leaders. Now, the government also is approving a free train ride nationwide from December 20 of 2024 to January 5 of 2025 to ease transportation costs during the Christmas and New Year celebrations. Well, we say that it is a step in the right direction, but what direction is our finances going to? We indeed still in the direction where many are still arguing that the 70,000 naira, increment in minimum wage, in fact, is a laughing, stock. That it is not commensurable to the situation and the reality on ground. That even though you try to cushion, the already exacerbated, circumstances in terms of living conditions of Nigerians, it still would not do if we leave the minimum wage at 70,000 naira. But can it even be reviewed at this point in time? Would it help in terms of the living standards? Would it help in terms of the transport inflation and the fuel, price hike in the country? Would it assist in allowing for us to have savings? I mean, just yesterday, Omoife and I, we had a conversation where she said she saw on a colleague, on a journalist, one of the journalist friends or somebody's WhatsApp status, that in Nigeria we only work to pay bills, but we don't have no savings. Is it not true that a WhatsApp status post is all about? Do we really have enough to say that having been able to handle this and that we are able to have this and that, and not allow ourselves to also be conditioned into the understanding as Nigeria would also look into borrowings? Many households today are all about borrowings. I can tell you for a fact. And then it makes you wonder, what revenues do I even have? What income, money flow income, or businesses, or something do I have that generates funds? A critical look also sees or finds that, look, there is almost little or nothing within your households that you have that is generating the kind of fund that would allow for you to firstly be comfortable. Hence, you're now thinking, or you've allow for yourself to get into the borrowing system. And then when we talk about borrowing still, how many people even have to borrow these days? Or to give you, or to borrow. How many people have enough to saying, okay, I'm borrowing you, right? This amount of money. In fact, some people now are even get to becoming banks on their own and saying that we are borrowing and then you pay a certain interest. But let's look at a personal account of the issue, and it reveals that many Nigerians are quite struggling to cope with the high transportation costs. Commuter who wishes to remain anonymous shared her experience. Now, in a word, she said, I used to spend 500 naira on transport to work every day, but now I have to spend 1,000 naira and sometimes 1,500 naira. It's becoming increasingly difficult for me to afford, and I'm not sure how much longer I can sustain it. That's a personal story of someone who chose to be anonymous right there, and it's highlighting the human impact of the issue where many Nigerians are struggling to make ends meet due to the high transport fare right there. But a pertinent question to ask would be, what are the potential long-term effects, right? The potential long-term effects of the high transport cost on livelihoods of Nigerians, right? What are they, and how can the government provide support to those affected? Well, we already joined via phone call by Comrade Gerald Okachi. Good morning and welcome to the Prog Show this morning, Comrade.
Yes, a very good morning to you, and compliments of the season. And most importantly, I would like to celebrate one of our own, Omoife.
That's right.
As today marks her birthday,
Yes.
I can only say that I wish her the best of her dreams.
Right. Awesome.
And may this year bring to her endless happiness and success.
Right. Amen to that one, though. Amen to that one. Yes. All right, comrade, that's wonderful. Thank you for being thoughtful, in this sense. Well, comrade, we're looking at the topical issue. I mean, this period, quite a number of people have traveled. Others have not. They've cited the hike in transportation. Others are talking about the transport inflation right now. And those who have even made it, I'm not sure whether or not they'll be able to make it back, to their respective abode. And it calls for concern that in the midst of all of this, I mean, a liter of petrol used to be 1,030 naira, range from 1,030 naira to 1,060. But now a new arrangement has been met where it is now at 935 naira to a liter. And yet the president has also come out to saying that, look, regardless of what anybody says, that we are still that we're still we're still very positive about the policies, the reforms, and everything. When you put all of these together, especially looking at the NLC also kicking on the sidelines and saying that, look, 935 naira is still not enough. In fact, they're regretting the 70,000 naira minimum wage that they agreed to with the federal government alongside the organized private sector right there, wishing that they did more to increase it maybe to 150 or 200,000 naira. And they are coming out strongly to make these strong statements. When you put all of these together, what is it for you? The situation, is it a dire situation? Can we still say that we can tap our minds into the renewed hope, belief system of Mr. President, who goes on to say that regardless, we are still on the right path economically?
Well, if you look at transport inflation in Nigerians, when we talk about transport inflation, it refers to the rising cost of transportation services, often driven by factors like high fuel prices, poor infrastructure, currency depreciation, and inefficiencies in the transport sector. Now, and you agree with me that some of the factors that causes price increases, transport inflation, it ranges from fuel price increases, that's the removal of fuel subsidy and the fluctuation in global oil prices significantly rise in transport.
Mm-hmm.
Then you look at poor infrastructure, bad road network, lack of efficient rail networks, and inadequate transport systems lead to higher maintenance and operational costs for transport providers.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about currency depreciation.
Right.
The devaluation of the naira increases the cost of importing vehicle spare parts and other essentials which are passed on to consumers. You look at insecurity on highways, which insecurity risks for transporters, leading to higher insurance premiums and additional costs for protective measures. You now talk about inefficiency in the sector, limited competition, monopolies in certain transport services, and lack of regulations, which often result in arbitrary price increases. And of course, you consider urbanization and population growth, increasing demand for transport services in urban areas due to rapid urbanization, puts pressure on the available systems, causing price hikes. And we can go on and on and on and on and say, but then let's look at the ways out of this transport inflation, which I think the current administration led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, no matter how you see it, you can give in terms of in those areas. Right. That is investment in infrastructure, upgrade and expand road networks, ports and railway systems to improve efficiency and reduce transportation costs. If you are a regular road user, you will agree with me that before you travel like 5 kilometers, you will see work ongoing at different roads, depending on the area you are going. So I give him thumbs up in that area, and I hope that before this time next year, we can have more smoother roads. Now you look at promoting public transportation, like I learned that today that Minister for Transportation will commence a form of free ride from Ego Square to various parts of the country, and I understand that some state governments are also doing form of support for their indigenous people that want to travel for this youth period. And also there are reports that they want to apply subsidy with regards to some of the well-known transport companies, with regards to those who may wish to go back to their various places. Then you look at stabilizing fuel prices. At least no matter how you see it, even though that I belong to the folks that act like Oliver Twist, there are rooms for improvement. Yes, they have slashed over 100 naira or 105 naira from the previous price. But as at this morning, I bought from NNPC here in Buhari at 1,040 naira.
Wow.
Though today, while I was going to Guarempa by camp, there's a place we call camp, Defense College in Buhari before Shafa. I bought at that place 935 naira. But this morning, I bought from another NNPC 1,040 naira. You understand? So I think there are needs for us to be sincere, because if, for example, that they announced price increase, it doesn't take rocket science. In less than 1 hour, you will see almost all the police stations, adjusting to new pump prices. Yeah. But now that it has come to reduction, we are struggling to see it reflect in almost all the petroleum stations. They will begin to tell that they still have full stock. That's where sincerity of purpose comes in, and they possibly price control need to be stabilized in that area. You talk about strengthening currency stability, implement policies to strengthen, stabilize naira, reducing the cost of imported vehicles and spare parts. As of today, our naira to dollar, we cannot really peg it where it is, even though that 2025 budget are pegging it at 1.5, which is unrealistic with current realities we are facing today. Now, we should also encourage alternative energy, which the government is also doing, that is promote the use of electric and compressed natural gas vehicles to reduce the dependency on petrol and diesel. Now you enhance security, improve security on highways to lower the risk and costs associated with transportation. You encourage competition, deregulate certain transport sectors to encourage competition and reduce monopolistic pricing. You adopt smart transport systems using technology to optimize traffic flow, reduce fuel wastage, and lower transport costs. Now there are a lot of things we can look in that area. But then I watched our president yesterday, and I was marveled at some certain things he raised. It's just like a notable proverbs, African adages that say that Agama lizard fall from a tree, and they look right, look left, nobody's applauding him. He just nods his head that he has tried. It's not easy to jump from a tree and land safely. Giving himself pass mark, that's not the way it goes. You understand? If that is the case, every student can score himself A. You understand? Anybody can score. There's no human being that you ask him to score himself. He will score himself less. I don't expect our president to begin to. I see that as a kind of bragging, and it's not necessary for leadership. Yeah, of course, you need to speak well about your administration, but then with the realities of what is going on, I had expected that by you should have announced possibly the Nigeria flag flying half, even for 24 hours in honor of those that have died out of frustration, desperation to get food caused by the policies that he has implemented. And they're talking about not having regrets with the removal of fuel subsidy. We are seeing the negative impacts of that particular step. And you are saying you are not regretting it. Is it when everybody dies, or is it when people organize and surround that sort of demanding is the resignation? That's when you will know that people are really suffering. You understand? Right. I think there are better things he can do when it comes to managing subsidies in fuel. Thank God our local refineries have started working. Anticipation and the expectations of Nigerians were that once these refineries commences work, fuel will drop. But the reality today has not really shown that fuel will drop, because as at the time even that will take commence local production, it appears like we are selling even the fuel higher than the imported ones. So what are the things, the indices that will show that we are happy with the reform that is making? We expect better, How do you get better? Right. For example, in the transport sector, I had expected that the Ministry of Transportation should have launched their own transport services. This idea of government have no business doing business.
Comrade. Comrade, just before you get into what the expectations would be, let's just go on a recess. We will come back in a short bit, and then we'll talk about the expectations, the way forward, what should have been put on ground, to ameliorate, the rise in poverty, as well as the transport inflation in the country, right? It is Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja. We'll be right back shortly.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja. Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
I don't need no liquor. I'm intoxicated by you.
My country people, who work is supposed to enjoy you after all the hustle. You not supposed to take your comfort play to fit sleep the way it's supposed to be. Make you go grab a Yoyo Eurofoam mattress. Make you forget your full comfort. Whether na Euro Spring, Euro Orthopedic, or semi-orthopedic, Diamond and Diamond Plus. And for Comfort Pro Max, Eurofoam don't introduce latest in town. That na Euro Elite. This one, they sleep jolly meant no get equal. Eurofoam get quality pillows and sheetings. Eurofoam shop yakpa everywhere for Bodo Nigeria. Eurofoam, sleep the way.
102.3 FM Abuja, here to stay.
Education is the major determinant of individuals' development and societal transformation, as individuals of educated societies are productive and patriotic in nation building, while uneducated societies are more prone to developmental challenges such as unemployment, insecurity, and underdevelopment, especially amongst the growing population, as available statistics in Nigeria shows that there are 20 million out-of-school children, in which about 12 million of them are in northern Nigeria, a number that is threatening the peace, security, and the social well-being of the country. Based on this assertion, the Universal Basic Education Commission UBEC is calling on Nigerians in rural and urban centers, especially parents, to always send their children to schools for them to have a qualitative education. Apart from parents, community leaders such as royal fathers, religious leaders, youth organizations, and the civil society have critical roles to play in ensuring that children are sent to school in their respective communities. It is only by so doing that we can all have educated, productive, and responsible leaders of tomorrow. Remember, education is the key to success.
This message is from UBEC. Eagles 102.3 FM. Abuja, here to stay.
Please listen to this infomercial.
Hello Nigeria. Hello Africa. Do you want to work in the healthcare sector? Do you want to be a trained certified nursing assistant, medical assistant, or caregiver? If yes, then register to enroll for Push Africa's one-year diploma in certified nursing assistant training happening at the African University College of Science and Technology, Abuja. Targeted trainees are unemployed graduates, O-level or ordinary diploma graduates, or anyone interested in working as a support worker in the healthcare sector. For details, log on to www.pushafrica.org or WhatsApp 080-339-42015, 080-550-45801, 080-339-42015, 080-550-45801 for registration.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
All right, back from recess right there. We're still talking transport inflation and fuel price hike in Nigeria, even though the conversation trending right now will be the fact that the fuel price to a liter would be 935 naira. Many are still saying that it is very exorbitant, it's still on the high, and it should come, as low as 400 naira. But then, in the face of all of this, we have seen where the federal government is launching a 50% discount bus scheme for the 2024 Yuletide road transport. And according to the federal government right there, the initiative is aimed to providing affordable transportation for Nigerians during the Christmas and New Year celebrations. And the scheme is supposedly to start today, being the 24th day in the month of December of 2024, and it's supposed to run up until January 5 of 2025. Passengers will be required to pay 50% of the usual cost. The buses will travel to 144 routes from Abuja and Lagos to all state capitals except Anambra, which will be on Nisha. Right, so 708 vehicles are planned for the scheme, and it is expected that about 17,588 persons will be moved daily, with a total of 288,644 passengers to be moved across the nation. I mean, the Nigerian Railway Corporation too, and NRC is also running a 100% free trade ride on its 6 corridors across the country. Well, these are steps the federal government has also put in place, seeing to it that transport inflation, in Nigeria, or the transportation, process is indeed one that, would help to cushion the effects of the fuel subsidy removal, the Naira, floating and all of that, and quite a number of other innovations and innovative, landmarks that the president, is putting in place to ensure that we got it rightly this time. But then we saw also in a live television broadcast where the president, had said that was that one of the things he said was that the reforms are making sense, the policies are taking us to where we ought to be. It might not be one dish like, if you like, but then It might be slow, but then we are still making progress. In fact, he has never stopped saying that we are on the right path, right? And some other statements that he has made. In fact, he said that fuel subsidy removal was one of his biggest achievements right there. I mean, decisions rather. One of his biggest decisions, to have made that decision and all, that it is really yielding, the impact that it ought to. Keep in mind, our guest is still on standby via phone call. Comrade Gerald Okachi is a human rights activist, public affairs commentator, and social, analyst. But you want to add your voice in this discourse right now. You want to tell us, how or whether or not, the transportation, price is affecting your livelihood, your standard of living, and all of that. You might as well want to put that call through. 0907 353 0044 is the number, and the WhatsApp portal number, where I would say please restrict it to just a WhatsApp message, would be 0909 705 4450. Right, let's take this call already. Hello and good morning.
Hello.
Yes, good morning to you, please.
Good morning. What's your name?
All right, Eunice, where are you calling from?
I'm calling you from Guju.
All right, Eunice, what's your take on the discourse?
I want you people to help us please the government. And January is coming, and there is teacher will resume for school. Please help us. Beg them. They should do the right thing for us next year for the children.
Okay.
Parents will start looking for money for going back to their children to school. Please, they should help us, because very soon now, people will start crying. Money for school, this and that, this and that. They should take care of it very well.
Right.
And the government, they should help us too.
All right, Eunice, in terms of transportation, how is it affecting you? Is it affecting you in any ways?
Well, I'm not traveling yet. Maybe within the week I will travel.
Okay.
But they take the money from my side. My side is not little, it's not so far.
Okay.
But before it's 8,000 naira. I saw her yesterday. He told me that from here to Aquanga, that is 4,000 naira.
Okay.
But when I asked her, why she's from here, I did not really show. Or it's like that.
Okay, thank you so much, Eunice, for that one. They'll
My
appreciate.
travel before I will,
Okay, until you travel. All right, Eunice, right there saying, well, first of all, she's making a plea and saying, federal government, please, for the children next year. Parents are all really, really feeling the heat and the scourge and all of that. And then she also says that, well, she's not traveling yet, but then she's giving us some sort of estimate as to what transportation would be. But then you two can add your voice. Let me know how this transportation, is indeed affecting your livelihood. And do you think that the president is showing any body language that seems as though anything, something positive will be done? I mean, some positivity would come from the place where there is a 50% cut, right? But then should more be done? Or is this just enough? I mean, just a while ago, we remember and we recall that the president had launched the CNG buses. But many of us are saying that we are not seeing these buses. And where are these buses? Where do they operate? What routes do they take? And all of that. It goes back again to the place of mistrust and distrust, and as well as what efforts are there by the government in ensuring that they give appropriate information that has exactitude, right? Such that a Nigerian would say, okay, if this CNG bus is operating on this route to this route, yes, that way we're able to indeed say, okay, fine, this is where it is, and of course we go to patronize it. But then, comrade, you were trying to give us what you felt could have been some of the panacea, a way forward. What were your expectations as to what could have been done in the light of this discourse?
In addressing some of the causes and implementing sustainable solutions to transport inflation in Nigeria, we can mitigate transport inflation and foster a more affordable, efficient transport system through so many things. You know, which yesterday address media chat, I think President enumerated some of the things that they are working on, which I give him thumbs up. And that is trying to push our economy to a manufacturing or production economy, you know, attracting local manufacturers, especially when it comes to vehicle assembling and production, you know. It will also help to see that transport inflation will reduce and create a job. Now, you ask yourself, to what extent can Nigerians, you know, bear the economic reforms that the president has embarked upon? This is almost 19 moves down the line, and we cannot really hit our chest and say we have seen much positive, not always hope they are being given, and clarion call for Nigerians to support. We cannot hit our chest and say we have seen something good, you know, that have affected the masses.
Right.
So I think the nature of the economic reform, we need to review it, especially when it comes to fuel subsidy removal. We need to see how we can manage exchange rate unification so that these inconsistencies that are not allowing budgeting or planning by individuals or companies with regards to exchange rates can be controlled. We look to see, if possible, to suspend these taxation policies, tax reform that the president is trying to bring on board and means the hardship Nigerians are facing.
But the president is saying it's not backing down, it's not backing out. He said he's open for talks. The government is open for talks. And he said it's a pro-poor, you know, tax reform bill. That's what it is.
I think we need to convince him with a superior argument that there's need for him to back down. You know, you cannot always have your way. You know, when it comes to fuel subsidy, before him was Jonathan, was Buhari. While Jonathan was having sworn as the leader of this nation, Buhari condemned his subsidy regime, filled with frauds and other things, you know, and claiming he's subsidizing who. But when he came on board, just like a spectator that is watching football from outside the spectator, you know, when he entered the pitch, you see the struggle. When he entered the pitch as a leader, and he saw the struggle, he saw the need for it, and he subsidized more than even Jonathan, and he continues subsidy until he finishes 8 years. One would have think that the better way to handle such situation is for the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to have even if it's just 1 week on the seat as the president of Nigeria with regards to what is happening. He will have a better understanding on why the subsidy is there. But he did it, he just pronounced it. And I think it's out of maybe say his pride that he doesn't want to accept that the reforms are having negative impact on Nigerians. But nevertheless, if he carried out two important economic policies and is subjecting Nigerians to depression, suicide, death, as regards to what you are seeing, whenever you announce you want to give rights to any food item, you see where people will troop out more than even what you anticipate. You show that there's desperation in the land. Those two important policies he has done is devaluation of Naira, that is fluctuation of Naira, and this fuel subsidy. And you are bringing tax. If the only two, that you have done, over 3,000 citizens have died from the time you announced this policy, aside from insecurity. And you are trying to bring another one that even will cause even more hardship. And you are trying to, you know, come with another dribbling and propaganda that we have heard them when they remove subsidy. They say that subsidy is for the rich. It's only people that are driving cars that are benefiting from the fuel subsidy. At the end of the day, even the ones that are not driving the cars are the ones that are suffering it even most. Now, if you bring taxation, they are claiming that it's for the vulnerable are not affected by the new tax reform. But that cannot be true. It cannot be true. Whatever VAT that will be placed on anything, even if it's ordinary recharge card of 100 naira, you will see the VAT reflecting there. If you want to buy mineral, you see the VAT reflecting in it. So how is it? How will it not affect the vulnerable? So I think one of the ways we can mitigate this is He should suspend the tax reform, even if for 6 months. Yes, people are calling for wider consultation. Let him suspend it. Let us see some of the reforms he has done, which coming on stream with our refineries production. Let's see the impact. If we begin to see positive impact and people begin to recover from the shock, it will make a lot of sense.
All right.
You mentioned about labor,
yes.
Complaining.
Yes.
Why would labor complain? We in the civil society, we stood firmly for Nigerians more than them. We stood firmly for the workers more than even organized labor. Why, when we are about accepting 70,000, we refused and said it must be 250,000 at least. And we carried out protest in August in that regard. Did organized labor join us? No, they didn't. But at the end of the day, the effect of clamping down on protesters, they were the first to be hit. Their headquarters were hit. Their presidents were targeted. You understand? Meaning that whether you speak the truth, you will die. You don't speak the truth, you will die. So I think one of the ways we can mitigate is Nigeria to develop capacity to bear some of the low-income groups, middle-income groups, which are depreciating by the day, then improve on how small and medium business enterprises can grow, unlike what you're having today. Then see how we can influence Nigerians into tolerance, because as today, our tolerance level is going down by the day. We often push our frustration to ordinary Nigerians. So I pray it doesn't get to where Nigerians will begin to target the ruling class. You understand? Government should be transparent. Speed of positive outcomes is needed in this area. Social support measures, public engagement and alignment, just like what the president did yesterday. I think I have given kudos to the president. I think I will give kudos to National Orientation Agency. I have beginning to see them doing some work. But they need to do more collaboration so that some of the good things they are doing, we can present it to the people so that they, there's Cameroon out there that said that, they make injury to go, but they make mind to calm down. You understand? By the time you begin to engage positively, it will make mind of Nigerians to come down. You look at global and local economic conditions. You can look at introducing safety nets, which they announced, but up to now, I've not seen somebody close or my neighbor or me that have said that they have received all these conditional cash transfer. You can look at invest in the critical sectors, stimulate job creation, ensure price stabilization, communicate clearly. Not using just like what happened over the past 1 week, the stampede. You saw some of the APC presidents, saying that it's opposition that have organized it. Things like that should not be encouraged in the society. You understand? Nigeria's ability to bear economic reforms under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu depends on the balance between short-time hardship and long-term benefits, without adequate cushioning mechanism and visible progress. Public patience may wane. However, with transparent governance, targeted relief programs, and inclusive policies, the reforms could again gain a greater public acceptance over the time.
Right. All right. Well, let's look at some of the messages coming from our family members now. I see this one coming from Abaz, all the way from Dutse. He's reporting. Now he says, "Good morning, Sir UD and the guest. Good morning to you, Abaz." He says, "I think it's wrong for us to keep blaming everything on subsidy removal. When subsidy was not taken away by the last administration, there was still transport inflation. It was difficult for people to travel home. Therefore, blaming it on removal of subsidy is not 90% correct. Subsidy removal was a timely intervention, so what we need now is further reduction of price and calling on President Tinubu to ensure 2 or more refinery works in 2025. Now, the gains of subsidy removal will be felt gradually fuel will be sold at a price it was subsidized for." Okay, I think, Baz, the last paragraph was not very clear, but yeah, thank you for that. Now, let's get on to hearing it from Ogenemano Austin, all the way from Ado, Nasarawa State. Thank you, by the way. Says, "Life is very unbearable to many Nigerians. It is wailing and gnashing of teeth to majority of the populace. Life has no meaning to them. Many have no idea where their next meal is coming from. Hunger and poverty is staring the faces of many. Mr. President, act now. Save the people." And that's what Ogenemano is saying. In the same vein, all the way from Nasarawa State as well, thank you, far too kind. Tekambi Hindu is saying, good morning, Daniel, and the guest, I greet you. I'm in Nasarawa State. Tinubu has failed to get things done correctly from day one. 3 major contenders in last election all agreed to remove subsidy, but not the way and manner Tinubu did. No plan on ground to cushion the effect. Didn't even wait to resume work. Make consultation from his cabinet to get their view on what happened after fuel subsidy, or what will happen after fuel subsidy is removed. Tinubu running government of I too know. Ask your guest, where is the money saved from the removal of subsidy? Right, Tekenby is asking that. But then again, we are looking at, the discourse of transportation. Is it going to get better? Is it affecting our livelihoods this time? Or are we looking at a better 2025 with regards to policies that have been put in ground? Would we see indeed the refineries coming aboard and waking up and coming alive and looking sharp, as quite a number of us are expecting for it to be? What are your expectations, basically, in terms of transportation? And what could be the factors that, if the president indeed looks into that direction and fixes it, it will affect, incredibly, in the most positive and meaningful ways, our lives as Nigerians? 0907-353-0044 is that number for you to call. But then let's get your final thoughts, Comrade Gerald Okachi. I mean, you said quite a number of things, and there's quite a number to still be said, but time would not allow for it. But then let's hear your final thoughts on the matter. Do you see light at the end of a tunnel in terms of transportation system in 2025? As I'll give you some rundown. 30.54% transport inflation rate in November 2024. That's what it was. Now 23.87% transport inflation rate in May 2023. 505.71% increase in fuel price since May 2023. 175 naira fuel price in May 2023. 1,060 naira fuel price in October of 2024. 899 naira reduced ex-depot price of petrol per liter. Final thoughts, maybe in one sentence or two.
Oh yes, I see lights at the end of the tunnel because the signals are beginning to show positive in that regard. If we have about 2 or more refineries working in 2024, we expect more to work in 2025, and that will spring up competition, meaning that there will be more reduction in fuel pump prices, which will reflect in what we are doing. But then, importantly, we should see how we can unify our exchange rate so that some of the price hikes or increase we have seen in almost all the things we are buying can reduce. Then you talk about transport inflation. The effort by the government to see how they can encourage Nigerians to move away from PMS dependence to compressed natural gas and possible electricity vehicles is one of the key ways to control the transport situation, which I give them thumbs up to. But I look forward to having them, lead from the front. Let's have our leaders, ministers, senators, legislative use CNG vehicles. It will make sense. I must be, if the government are ready, I can present my vehicle to be used. Let's use it as test run. To see
I get that.
the success of it.
Yeah,
you understand?
right.
So I think those things can help to reduce the transport inflations.
Yeah. All right, thank you so much, Comrade Gerald Okachi, for adding your voice in the discourse this morning. We appreciate your time, your voice, and the energy with which you use in, talking passionately about Nigeria. You are a human rights activist, a public affairs commentator, and social analyst. We look forward to more conversations with you in the coming days.